Like everyone else, you want to learn the way to win, but never to accept the way to lose. To accept defeat, to learn to die is to be liberated from it. So when tomorrow comes, you must free your ambitious mind and learn the art of dying.
Good evening and welcome to the Musings of a Madman. I am your host, the last operator of the universe, and this is the night before New Year's Eve. And today I want to talk about the 3 fights that I've ever been in. One of the 3 most important fights that I've ever been in. I don't want to call them fights. Let's say 3 altercations that I've ever been in and how they went and how it affected me, I'd say. So, guess we can start in the beginning as usual. Growing up as a kid, I was not very, I wasn't somebody you get into a fight with. I wasn't somebody who would annoy people that much. No, let's scratch that. I wasn't somebody who would actually make enemies to the point where someone was willing to fight me, you know? Sure, I could piss you off, I could say something you don't like, I could say something annoying, but it would never get to the point where somebody looks at me and is like, this is somebody I want to kick, somebody's ass who I want to kick. It usually never went that far, you know? And even in a group of friends, when it came to teasing, you'd have like, in your friend group, there's like, I don't know, sort of a hierarchy of I want to say, butt of the joke, you know? Usually the jokes pass around and anybody can be anybody can be teased or whatever, but there's usually that one person who they always pick on and all that. That was never me, you know? It was never me where I would have to be put in a situation where I was mad or put in a situation where I made someone mad to the point where it had to go to a fight. So we'll discuss the first altercation. First altercation I was ever in was in grade 4. I was in grade 4 and it was a playground scuffle essentially, you know. We were playing football, as I love to call it. We were playing football and there was a dispute about a goal, you know. The other team sort of may or may not have scored a goal and I wanted to play. So I jumped in like, no, come on, that was definitely a goal. You guys need to get off. And there was this particularly aggressive friend of mine. His name was Freddie. And he loved to argue, you know. And he had 3 older brothers. So that's what I'd say. This is why he won the altercation, because simply he had more experience kicking ass or getting his ass kicked or just scuffling with people. So I'm there arguing, no, it was a goal, and the dude just got pissed, okay? And I would not let it go. I wanted to play right there. So we're arguing, and he got pissed. So out of nowhere, the dude just smacks me across the face. It was awe-inspiring, man. It was a kind of smack that just, it doesn't hurt. It's just freaking embarrassing, okay? It makes you feel like you were, I don't want to say a little girl, but yeah, it made me feel like I was a little girl. I couldn't even react in the moment, you know? Everybody just fucking froze. And the dude, you know, followed it up with words like, if you continue this, you know, we're gonna have a fight. And I was just stunned, you know? And after that smack, obviously we didn't play immediately. His team stayed on the field and I ran to the bathroom and I remember crying for the first time because somebody just kicked my ass. I don't know if it happened before, but this was the first time I actually vividly remember, you know, being hit and it resulting in me crying simply because the other kid didn't like me or whatever. Went to the bathroom, I cried, and that was the end of that, you know. I came out of the bathroom afterwards and I think I was fine, and me and Freddie were still friends after that, you know. There was just one altercation that may or may not have impacted our lives, but it didn't, you know. I didn't really think about it afterwards, and I think I moved on because, yeah, it happens. Now, the second altercation I had was with the next 2 altercations were also with good friends of mine, and even afterwards we were sort of tight afterwards. But I think I'd like to talk about the worst one, the one that I'm most ashamed of, essentially. This was with my friend Wilbert Amwele, okay? Now, me and Wilbert were friends for many years. I knew this guy since 7th grade, or 5th or 4th grade. Yeah, since 5th grade. He had a twin brother, so from the 5th to the 6th grade, I sort of couldn't tell them apart, so I didn't know which was which. I would just say, hey bro, hey bro. But by 7th grade, I could tell them apart because Wilbert suddenly, had a growth spurt. He was suddenly much taller than his brother, and you could tell them apart. Now, leading into, I think, 8th, 9th, or 10th grade, we were tight. Essentially, we walked to school together. If we were walking back home, we'd walk home together. If we were taking taxi, we'd take taxis back home together. And we essentially just became buddies, This is somebody who when I was writing like stories, we were writing stories together. We'd sort of like exchange stories and see which ones we like better. Like I would write something, he would write something, and then we'd compare and just sort of compete against each other. So there was one particular case where I don't know what happened. We were sort of in an altercation or something. We were arguing about something, and the only way to move forward was to show who was stronger, right? So somehow he took my arm and he twisted it behind my back, and that really embarrassed me, man. It made me feel small and weak, and I had to tap out. I was like, okay, fine, let me go. I cried out, and yeah, he let go of my arm. But after that, immediately after that, my mind was set like this. He had pissed me off, okay? I had lost my mind. So I think 10 or 15 minutes later, during break time, right? I was already primed by that moment. I already had turned on and I was ready for anything. So immediately after that, somewhere around break time, me and Wilbert, we get into another scuffle, right? And he somehow gets me to stand over a short bench or something, to something behind me below my legs, and he managed to push me and I just fell over. I tripped, and it felt rough, it felt weird, and immediately I got up, I shot up, and I chased this dude down, man. I chased this dude down with a crowd of my classmates behind me. So I'm chasing this dude down, and we end up at somewhere at the back of the classrooms, and he winds up standing behind the wall. He's at the wall now. He's at the classroom, at the back of the classroom, and he's standing there. And there's me, fire and fury, and I'm ready, man. I'm turned on. Like I said, I was primed already, and that fall just made it worse. So I get him up against the wall, and I just start pounding, okay? I threw maybe 5 or 6 punches. Yeah, this was before I knew karate, so it should have been before grade 10. So I threw 5 or 6 punches, and 5 or 6 punches, 3 of them hit him. 2 of them, I was just pounding away, okay? 3 of them hit him, and in the face, and 2 of them missed and sort of shattered the glass behind him. Didn't shatter, but it sort of cracked it a bit. And everybody was like, oh. And immediately the fight was over, there was no discussion after that. And yeah, I technically didn't win the fight, but this was something that was just not cool. I didn't have to overreact like that. I guess I could have let it go, but I was already primed, like I said. And immediately after that, Wilbert wants to sure, he's I think he was also in shock. And 10 or 15 minutes later, right before break is about to end, your boy Wilbert wants to fight me. He's like, nah, after school you and I are meeting, and the whole class was just between us. No, you guys shouldn't fight. You guys should back down. Don't do this, okay? After school, just go home, and we went home together. And yeah, that day was horrible, man. As we walked, because like I said, we walked home together. As we walked home together, Wilbert walked 3 or 4 meters ahead of me, and yeah, he didn't say a word to me. We didn't have that after school fight, but damn, that was harsh. I think the next day we were tight again. There was no apologies needed, but it still sucked what I did, and I feel really bad about it. And the final fight was also in high school, and this one I cannot say like the others, wasn't really an altercation. It was with me and another friend of mine, Elton Bernardi. This was also another best friend of mine. So me and Elton used to hang out a lot, and we were sort of comfortable, we joked around, but you could say he was more comfortable, I don't know, pushing me around. I don't want to say he bullied me, but he was comfortable making me do things, Yeah, that sounded weird. He was comfortable just poking fun at me, he would tease me and stuff, and sometimes I really wouldn't tease back. He would push me around and I really wouldn't push back or anything, because I don't know, I just kind of felt like it was pointless. And I don't want to say I was primed. I was not primed, no. Just this one moment he had, like, we'd actually poke fun at each other every now and then. So this one time, I don't even know how it fucking started. It was just a horrible moment. You know, just the rage monster, this fire and fury of mine, this flame of anger just rose up in my chest and I couldn't control it, you know. It was around people, it was just brutal. So this one time, Yalton Bernardi, he was like a big kid, you know, sort of, do I say fat here? He's not fat anymore. Yeah, so he was fat. So Yalton Bernardi was fat and big and tall, and one day he had a stocky in his mouth, right? So actually before he bought the stocky and I said, can I have one too? Or something like that, right? And he said no. He said no, and I was joking around, and then he opened the thing up, unwrapped it, and started eating it. And for some reason, I grabbed it out of his mouth, and I was like joking around, I'm gonna eat it. But obviously, I'm not gonna eat it. You just put it in your mouth, dude. But the dude got triggered, man. He came after me, you know. He's like, give it back. And he put some bass in his voice, you know. And I thought, and he actually looked like he wanted to fight me for the stocky. And I was like, I'm not gonna eat your lollipop, dude. Calm down. Okay, that was mentally what I was thinking, but physically, you know, like outward in the real world, he's stepping up to me. He was in my face. Okay, I felt I had to protect myself, and yeah, in that moment, he stepped up to me. He was in my face. I don't even know what he did. He didn't actually. I think he grabbed my shirt. And I just flipped as well. You know, like I said, the flame of anger just rose up in me. I grabbed him by the throat, by the neck, and yeah, I guess he grabbed me by the shirt. I grabbed him by the throat, and it was just a chokeout type of thing, you know. And you could see his big peach face turning red. Yeah. Eventually started crying, and I let him go, and I said, you can have your stocky back. I think I tossed it at him or something, but by that time the damage had been done, and yeah, our friends had to break us up. I'm not that embarrassed about that one because he sort of escalated things, but yeah. So I think out of these 3 altercations, what I learned was, I don't know, pick your fights. Sometimes violence cannot really be the answer. Sometimes you can just let things go. Well, thanks for joining me. This has been the last operator of the universe, and this was me telling you, entertaining you with stories about my life, about how I've handled altercations in my life. There is one more that I'd like to tell you about. This one is just quick and short. We didn't really fight. It was in grade 2, and some dude got in my face as well, and immediately the guy just grabs my shirt and rips it open. We used to have these button shirts. He rips it open and all the buttons fall out, and I was so pissed. I grabbed his shirt and I did the same thing to him, and we're just walking around for half the day with like half our buttons, with our chest basically showing off. So yeah, just eventually gets to an eye for an eye, but try and moderate where you can or cannot, I don't know, fight back. Yeah, so this was the last operator of the universe. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.